Hey everybody, welcome to Alpha Flight Monday, and we have now hit Alpha Flight number 40. Ooh, we're getting close to the end here. This is one of those Marvel 25th anniversary covers. They were all portraits of the different characters in the different books. In this case, though, we do have Heather Hudson as Vindicator, but we also can see Alpha Flight reflected in her glasses, goggles, whatever you want to call those things. Kind of cool, though, because you also get to see the state of the different Marvel heroes at the time. Shadowcat, Rogue, still doing that sort of mullet thing. Punk Storm. We got X-Factor there. We got some Avengers, etc. She-Hulk was in the Fantastic Four. Okay, let's take a look at this fine book in a story called Love. And we begin, let's first bring out Bill Mantlo, writer, David Ross, penciler, Whilce Portacio, inker, Jim Novak's letterer, Bob Sharon, colorer, Carl Potts, editor, Jim Shooter, editor-in-chief. And so we begin with a shot of our good friend the Submariner screaming for Marina. Mon Dieu, the water carries the sound waves of the Submariner's scream so that it resounds as loud as a thunderclap. He searches for our teammate and his beloved. Alpha Flight and the Avengers risked sparking an international incident by invading Atlantis to help free Marina from Atuma, as chronicled in Alpha Flight number 39 and Avengers number 272. Now she's fled in shame, leaving Namor hysterical and Alpha out of our element. So, Subby is looking for the lady he loves and calling her name. And he's more or less forgotten about Alpha, and he's more or less forgotten about the Avengers. This is his one big obsession. And what we get next is sort of a retelling of what we saw in those issues, which we don't really need to go through right here. So Jeffries has taken the remnants of their aircraft and turned into this little mini sub that he's tooling around in, and did it without the help of Roger Box, which usually is how he does these things. And so Mr. Jeffries has a sonar fix now on the Submariner, Marina, and Northstar, and something else. So Northstar is out ahead of everybody, as he usually is, because he's kind of a super speedster, apparently underwater, as well as through the air. And he's pondering love, and noting that his sister Aurora is a slave to love. She first loved Walter Lankowski, who was the Sasquatch, who is now gone. She's transferred it over to Roger Box, who is the inventor of the Box robot and the operator. She, of course, loved her brother Northstar as well. And so he wonders, is this just like an element of her personality that she's, always longing for love, that she needs somebody? Well, could be. She had a very weird childhood. It could be something that she worries about. And he, of course, he's noting Submariner willing to throw everything away for love. Now, up till now, Northstar has been pretty much the jerk of the team, very arrogant, etc. And so maybe we're seeing some character development. Maybe he's starting to pick up on things maybe greater than himself. So he gets the Submariner's attention and kind of regrets it, and he casts him away. Away, stripling! Your childish one-upmanship reminds me of the Namor who was, but the Submariner has put aside pride to attain a greater prize, love. Oh, this is a nice issue. So Alpha Flight catches up to Northstar, who is still kind of amazed. And he's saying to himself, I keep saying that I would do as much for my sister, but would I? So he's getting a little, little reflection of himself. We now switch to Marina, one of the founding members of Alpha Flight, who has now taken on this monstrous appearance because of being exposed to her alien mate. She is an alien dropped on this planet thousands, millions of years ago as part of an invasion force who hatched early and at any rate. And we get a little review of how she got to this point, dealing with the Master of the World, a very early villain for Alpha Flight. And, she's seeing what's happening to herself. She's got these weird nodules on her. And she believes that this is because she is pregnant by that alien mate. And she's going to deliver hundreds of alien offspring whose every instinct will drive them towards the conquest of the earth. And we have found, earlier one of those things had killed people in Canada. So, it's a very dangerous species. They kind of exist to conquer and kill and all that. And as she's going through this revelation, the Submariner appears, calling her name. She's trying to avoid him because of what she has become. And he's, beloved, at last I have found you. And as you love me, you must destroy me. Swiftly, Marina tells Namor of her shame. So, again, he doesn't care. He's just besotted with her. Alpha Flight arrives having heard the tale and that her children, are going to imperil the earth. And, of course, they need to do something about that. And the Submariner's not going to play along because he's not really thinking that clearly. And he points this out. He says, look, Marina was also the offspring of alien conquerors, yet adapted in a loving environment. Since it is too late to abort this birth, if such had ever been possible, I mean to marry Marina. Together we shall raise her hatchlings in a loving environment as our own. I love what you suggest is madness. I like this from Jeffries. I don't know. It sounds pretty good to me. The creatures will take on the characteristics of their parents. With two such role models as Namor and Marina, their progeny could have much to offer man. And then Heather, or they could be more powerful than humanity, and in time seek to supplant us. Need I remind you, Vindicator, that same argument has often been advanced against mutants, such as Aurora and I. So we got a really interesting little discussion about what to do about Marina's offspring. Of course, a lot of this is conjecture. So, Heather's saying, look, if we're wrong, this could be really bad. And Puck says, Heather, are you suggesting that we slay Marina's children? Or Marina herself, that this birth might be stopped? Of course, Namor's like, yeah, you're going to have to do that over my dead body. Marina agrees with Vindicator. I must be destroyed. She's terrified of becoming what she might become. And it's understandable. Marina is a truly good soul. And this has been very traumatic for her. And she knows this is not something she can control. So, what to do about it. So all of a sudden, that other thing that Jeffries was recording on with his sonar shows up, and it's really, really big. And so it turns out it is, in fact, Marina's alien mate. And I notice they go for a much more French accent for Aurora. Usually she doesn't have that when she's in her Aurora personality. Then it did not perish along with the master. You just, as an American, you can't do a really French sort of accent without sounding like you're just doing a Pepe Le Pew impersonation. I'm sorry, it's just, I'm a product of my environment. I mean no offense to the French, God knows. And so this horrible thing, and they're sort of shapeshifters. You could see it's different heads, and it's just, the Plodex are really quite disturbing looking creatures. Kind of reminiscent of John Carpenter's The Thing. A little bit. And given that these things are up in the Arctic at one point, maybe that's on purpose. And so, Namor challenges it. It shocks him. It hasn't come to harm me, my prince. Survival of the species compels it to protect Marina and her progeny from harm. And the very possibility of hundreds of horrors like that suddenly hatching forth upon this planet is the very reason that Marina must be destroyed. The future of the Earth imposes a duty upon us, Alpha Flight. Do what must be done, and worry about the morality of it in the morning. Wow. So Heather, wants to take a leadership position, and she knows she didn't have much experience in it. She's not like a Captain America who's gone through a war and then, serving as leading the Avengers for years. So is she jumping the gun here? Is that really the right attitude to take? It's a tough one because there is clearly a threat here. And again, Marina is sort of on the side of Heather here. She does not want to become this thing. She doesn't want her children to become this thing. She doesn't want to be responsible for people to get hurt. And so she seems like she's seeking the protection of the Plodex. And because Heather says when push comes to shove, she can't override her genetic programming. And if Marina can't resist her genes, how can we ever hope that her kids won't one day revert to type? We can't. You have your orders, Alphans. Vindicator channels enormous electromagnetic energy through her battlesuit's circuitry and lets it flow in a steady state stream of tremendous force through her gauntlets. Vindicator, no, that's Submariner speaking, of course. Arrogant wench, it is the avenging sun whom you address. She's like telling him to get out of the way. Others before you have tried to slay me and failed. Think with your head, Namor, instead of your heart. Look at Marina's mate. It's a composite of all the earth creatures, human, Atlantean, mammal, fish, you name it, that it's slain in order to survive. Your fear of mankind's extinction has overridden your reason. I do not contest that the monster is deserving of destruction, but Marina is your teammate. If you love her as I do, you should be looking for some way to help her rather than harm her. She's trying to resist. So ultimately, this story is becoming a sort of a consideration, a rumination on love. Heather seems to be acting coldly, or is she acting out of a love for humanity, for all the lives that might be lost if they spare this monster and allow it to breed with Marina? So Box and Vindicator go after Submariner. They're totally outclassed, and he knocks them away. Namor battles my fellow Alphans for my sake, that I might survive, even though Earth's doom may result. Why? Isn't survival far more important than love? No, that's the Plodex in me speaking, the alien heritage that so horrified me when I first came face to face with my monstrous mate. Its genetic hold on me is strong, but so are my memories. So a little nature versus nurture here. Comic Book Conventions, 1986. All right. Back when you'd advertise those in actual comic books. And so now she's looking back at her memories of growing up, being raised by these folks on, I think it was Newfoundland, um, joining the team, being loved, being accepted. And so we have this moment here. I am no alien. I am Marina of Earth. Instinctively understanding her rejection, if not her words, Marina's extraterrestrial mate howls. And in that instant, something wonderful happens. The pain, the pulsing growths, my monstrous appearance, they're all gone. I am myself again. Not pregnant? Only now do I begin to understand. This is Shaman speaking. Neither we nor Marina had any experience of Plodek's childbearing. We assumed from her symptoms that she was pregnant, because we lacked any other explanation for her condition. But Marina was never pregnant. She was merely in a state of breeder receptivity, genetically designed to attract a male of her species, to complete the process of perpetuating the race. By choosing humanity, Marina stopped sending out biological signals that she was ready to mate. The Plodeks can no longer sense her, and would destroy her as well as us. As you said, Namor, only over our dead bodies. So, that being more or less resolved, it's time to kick some Plodek's ass. And we get a nice Mighty Marvel melee here between Alpha Flight and this horrible, horrible creature. And they all hit it at once, and in the end, a creature bred to survive lives no more. The monster's gone. But should another Plodex ever reach Earth, will Marina suffer the same genetic changes? My guess is that she will not, having utterly rejected her alien heritage. If they do land here again, Alpha will stand with Marina, no matter what. I don't think she'll need us, Box. Think about it. The Plodex adapt to survive. And by choosing humanity and love over bloodlust and conquest, Marina may have found the best way to survive on our planet Earth. Besides, it looks as if she's in good hands already, eh? So, the threat of the Plodex, for the moment anyways, is over. And again, this is a whole issue about love and the power of love and choosing love over other things, which is pretty cool. And she has managed to choose love over these other things, love for the Submariner. And so it looks like it's time, perhaps, for those two to finally get married. And so they head to his new kingdom, centered around my undersea villa, which I built decades ago. See Fantastic Four number 9. Now, that's actually kind of interesting. I'd have to read that, because we know that timekeeping in the Marvel Universe is not a one-for-one thing, year by year. I wonder if that's something he had built truly decades ago that was first mentioned in Fantastic Four number 9. Or if they're saying that Fantastic Four number 9 happened decades ago. I would have to look at that issue, honestly. I don't know. Don't have any issues that old. Wish I did. And others have gathered there. And they think, uh-oh, it's Atuma. He's come to fight some more. But he is wrong. An elder among the approaching throng utters an astounding cry. Long live Namor, sovereign of the seas. Atlanteans rejoice, our prince returns to us. Where now are those doubters who thought him dead? Bira, it was you who summoned us to Namor and Marina's aid, and 'twas I who led these disaffected Atlanteans to your villa, my lord, whilst you fought Atuma. All of you shall be welcome as my subjects, Lord Vashti, in the new kingdom called Deluvia, which my beloved Marina and I shall build here at the bottom of the sea. Is that not so, my queen? If your subjects will accept me. And they cheer out, Namor, Marina, Deluvia. There is your answer, beloved. Welcome home. And although these refugees from tyranny are all too aware that Atuma's Atlantis will spare no effort to challenge their right to exist beneath the seas, they nevertheless set their fears for the future aside, long enough to rejoice in an event that seems to promise that theirs will be a long and lasting civilization. For it is founded not in tyranny, but in love. I now pronounce you, Namor and Marina, husband and wife, to be continued someday. So there we go. So we get something of an end to the saga of Namor and Marina. Actually, quite a lot of character development for Namor in the pages of Alpha Flight. And him, coming to terms with how crap he was as the, Prince of Atlantis and sort of turning over a new leaf. We're seeing a character, very arrogant, finally show some growth away from that, towards wisdom, towards love. And we see that also with Northstar in this issue, as he starts kind of looking at what he's up to in his life and maybe deciding to make some changes. So I think overall a good issue, and with, a real powerful debate in it. We love Marina, but do we have to take her out to save everybody's lives? That's a tough one. That's something that people have to deal with in the real world that can often be glossed over in comic books, which it's glossed over in this comic book because all of a sudden the need to make that decision is taken away by her choosing humanity over her alien heritage, choosing love over bloodlust, conquest, survival, etc. So there you have it, folks. Alpha Flight number 40 from November 1986. But it could be a Valentine's Day issue. Let me know what you think in the comments of this issue. I'd love to hear what you have to say. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. Please think of subscribing and maybe sharing with a friend, maybe somebody out there who's an Alpha Flight fan who'd like to watch a review of the series. We'll be back next Monday with Alpha Flight number 41. But until then, God bless everybody. Please be kind to one another. Try to have a little bit of fun out there, and I will see you soon, hopefully, in Dad's Den of Pop Culture. Bye-bye.